Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, hello there and welcome to ya. Geez, my clocks are all off, aren't they? It really is 10 o'clock. Although one of my clocks says 8:56 and the which isn't right, and the other says 9:58. And I'm going to assume it's 9 o'clock in St. Louis, Missouri, where my sister Susan has already done 3 loads of laundry and some other stuff, I guess. Susan, hello.
Yes, I have.
Up and at 'em and moving. Good for you.
Right.
Good for you. Hey, so, Susan.
Yeah, it's election day here, too. I haven't voted yet.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about some of that. I just want to do some breaking news here for the audience. It's sad news and surprising news that Marvin Hamlisch has died. Marvin Hamlisch is the
writer of just about every song that you hum.
I know. And he's very much and has been a part of Pittsburgh for years now, heading our Pittsburgh Pops series, and so there's a lot of people here who know him. And
he's young.
He's 60. Yeah, well, he's young. He's too young.
Youngish.
He's not 70. He's 67, I believe, 67 or 68.
What happened?
They aren't saying. He's 68. They are not saying what he died of. They said it was a brief illness. Nothing else is being released, but he composed the scores of, just The Sting alone.
Oh, let's see,
right?
The Way We Were, that's Marvin Hamlisch.
A chorus line.
Right.
Did the music for, gee whiz, The Way We Were, right, Sophie's Choice. There's so many, it's amazing. And by all accounts, everybody who ever dealt with him here says that he was about the nicest guy in the world. Totally, not blown away by his own success. Just a regular, wonderful guy.
Just happy to be allowed to do what he liked to do.
So that's sad news. Marvin Hamlisch. Dang it. Okay. Life.
Jeez.
I can't quite come to terms with it. I suppose it
There's
doesn't.
been a lot of it lately.
Well, life?
No, a lot of is sort of a passing of a generation, more of that happening,
well,
like
maybe
with
it
Gore
just,
Vidal.
Yeah, but maybe it just seems that way because people are dropping like flies every day and have since the world's been around. I think as you get older, don't you? You just start noting it more. That must be it.
Well, sure.
You never had that sense when you were even in your 20s or 30s that so many wonderful people were dying. I don't think. I don't know. Ah, shoot. Never mind. So, yes, Susan, it's Election Day in Missouri. You got a primary, and we've got actually a little primary here. Not a primary. We have an election here. I want to remind you guys who were formerly represented by Senator Jane Orey in the Pennsylvania Senate that you are today choosing her successor while she packs her bags to go to jail. So these things come up quite often in Pennsylvania, Susan.
Yes, yes.
The jail elections. And Claire McCaskill is going to find out by the end of the day who she's running against,
Which
right?
horrifying person
Which
she's
appalling.
running against,
There are
who are virtually indistinguishable.
There are three Republicans in the primary today, Susan says, all indistinguishably horrible.
Aiken, who has Huckabee doing ads for him.
Huckabee.
Steelman, a woman who has a woman that calls herself a Governor Palin.
Oh, goody. Okay.
And I'm thinking, yeah, well, you quit. Do you still get to call yourself governor if you quit?
Oh, God.
Anyway, and she can't pronounce her name. She calls her Stillman, but she's Steelman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's John Brunner, who is a job creator.
Oh, what does that mean?
He's a businessman.
Oh, okay.
He has no political experience whatsoever.
But he knows how to run this government.
But I know how to make jobs. Of course, they've been running ads against him, saying that he doesn't know how to make jobs. He ran his own company into the ground, and then he bought this other company that had a lot of jobs in Tennessee, and so he just bought some jobs that weren't even in the state.
Yeah. But did he? So those jobs still exist? I mean, that puts him one up on Mitt Romney, who'd buy.
Those jobs still exist,
oh,
right?
Okay, so I mean, at least he didn't just.
Yes, at least he let those people keep their jobs.
He didn't
I agree.
rape the company and take everything and throw all those people out of work. I think he's a wonderful human being. Then, so he's not a job destroyer.
No, but creator is stretching it.
Okay.
And the fear is that any one of them is going to just step on Claire McCaskill's head.
Yeah, right. That in the way Missouri has been going politically, Claire McCaskill doesn't have a chance in hell. It's too bad.
And to complicate things, the way the Republican State House gerrymandered the congressional districts, we now have we've gotten rid of one of our Democratic seats.
Yeah.
And so we have Russ Carnahan going against Clay it's needless bloodletting, and one of them will lose,
These are two Democrats going against each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've just had that here,
too.
Two
sitting Democrats.
Yeah. That's what we've had here, too. One of the district goes, and then the two Democrats have to take each other on. So, so we see in Missouri how one Democratic senator is probably not going to make it and is going to be replaced by a Republican senator. And, a few more of those going on. And
wait a minute. And then we just to spice things up, we have our right to pray amendment.
Well, I want to talk about that because the New York Times actually has an editorial about that today, because voters in Missouri are going to be voting on whether or not to amend the state constitution.
Well, let's put this in perspective. We amend the state constitution to sell bubble gum on Saturday.
Okay, so this would be Constitutional Amendment 7,566.
Yeah, right.
However, the ballot summary that Missouri voters will see says that this amendment would ensure citizens' right to express their religious beliefs without infringement and students' right to pray in schools. The New York Times.
But more than that, it allows students to opt out of curriculum with which they don't agree.
That's right. More than that, if a student is offended by anything that they are asked to do in school or learn in school, they cannot be penalized for saying, my religious beliefs do not allow me to read Great Expectations. My religious beliefs say that I can go play on the swing set while you guys talk about Darwinian theory. This sounds like such. This is
and it's going to pass.
Of course, it'll pass. Of course, it'll pass.
And here's my fervent hope that they get so many lawsuits.
There's going to be 500 lawsuits a week coming out of this thing. I mean, how can a teacher?
I think I have to move.
You might have to, Suze.
I don't see any choice coming up. It's
there should be a consequence to this, in that, there should be a brain drain from states that lose their minds. And, you wouldn't want to live. You wouldn't want to be associated with. You wouldn't want your children growing up in this environment. So you'd pick up and get the hell out. And something else that might make it easier for you to leave is, of course, global warming. And
right. Which they've decided must be true. Now that it's 100. Now that now that I've just lived through the hottest July ever.
Yeah. But are even these right-wing yahoos in Missouri agreeing that it's?
They aren't. They sure have shut up. Let's put it that way.
You don't hear so much. Yeah. We've got a caller, perhaps. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. This is Kristen Barriga. I emailed you a little while ago. I'm the artist. I just wanted to tell you, I heard I'm sorry if this is a little off the subject from what you guys are talking about, but I heard your podcast last week about New York being hot, and we were just there. It was the first time I was there in my whole adult life on Friday. It was so hot. I was wearing tennis shoes. It felt like my feet were going to melt. And I came back and I heard your podcast comparing New York and Pittsburgh, and you were talking about exactly what we were talking about. And I was laughing. It was so synchronistic, because I had just experienced what you were talking about. And I just wanted to tell you that.
Okay, well, thank you. But, listen, I got a memory that fails me constantly. We were talking about Pittsburgh and New York? I don't even remember that. I mean, saying that when it's hot there, it's hotter than... Is that... What were we saying?
When it's hot, it's so hot in this city.
Yeah,
it's like...
Yeah.
Holy cow. And yet you were talking about Central Park and how, you said New York has one lung and Pittsburgh has two.
Yes.
And I really like that because, we visited my husband's uncle, and he lives in Queens, and, they had just talked about, Central Park being, setting aside the Central Park so that nobody would build there and people would have, a place to go for, nature.
Yes, nature. Remember that, right?
Right, exactly. So, but also, I just wanted to tell you, I'm a huge fan of you. I've always been my whole life, and you're wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And so, all in all, even though you were dying from the heat, was New York pretty wondrous?
It was great. It was so wonderful. We went to MoMA, and MoMA on Fridays is free between 4 and 8. And I got to see, I'm a huge fan of Frida Kahlo. I got to see her paintings in real life for the first time ever.
Wow.
And it was the most amazing thing. It was such a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I completely concur. Seems to me, Susan, the last time we were there, we were at
MoMA. And
we ate at MoMA.
We enjoyed a wonderful meal in the bar.
They've got did you see there's a bar there that had great food.
Oh, yeah.
Next time.
They sure do. Yeah. And MoMA's so fabulous. Like, I couldn't believe, to have all these great works all in one place.
Yeah.
Like, it's holy cow,
I know.
Like my, it was funny though. I was trying to go see the Van Gogh's Starry Night, and there was this whole crowd around, and somebody said, "Oh, just push your way up like a real New Yorker," and I'm like, "Well, I'm from Pittsburgh. It's not in me to do that."
So, did you ever get up to the front?
Well, I'm 5'9", so I was actually able to just stick my arms above everyone and take a really nice photo.
And then look out. And then look at the picture later. Jeez.
Right. Still once removed. No, you got to do that. You just got to go, excuse me.
Got to learn how to throw an elbow or two.
Right.
Well, I learned how to very gently, go with my elbow and sort of wedge people.
Yeah.
So I wasn't pushing people. I was kind of wedging people.
Uh-huh.
And I'm so tall that I learned how to not push but gently wedge. When I got up to the Frida Kahlo painting, there was somebody talking on their cell phone right in front of it, and they weren't moving. And that's when I learned how to gently wedge people out of the way.
Yeah, really. If they weren't talking about the Frida Kahlo, then they sure as hell didn't belong there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, if you're, holy cow, what do you do? I'm not letting somebody keep me
pretty much don't belong on a cell phone in a museum.
Exactly. It was.
They usually tell you to stop it, actually.
Yeah. Well, okay. I hope it's the first of many trips, and next time, cooler temperatures for you.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, you're a sweetie. Thank you.
You're very appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, you take care, okay?
All righty, bye.
All right, bye.
Okay, she made my day. She doesn't sound 5'9".
No, she doesn't.
Isn't that odd? What does 5'9" sound like? It sounds like me.
I don't know.
Well, it's because she has a voice. It's a very
She has a very, very young girl voice.
A young girl voice, and so you think small, and then 5'9". Woo! Okay. So, Suze, I don't know. I don't know. Do we want to talk about Milwaukee?
It just makes me so heartsick.
Well, the last time, it seems to me, was it a week ago that I talked to you and I said, do you want to talk about Aurora? And you said, why bother? It's all the same. I mean, when nothing's going to happen. And I mean, was that a week ago? Or was that 2 weeks ago? Jesus. Yeah. So, driving in today, driving to the bus, I heard a local talk show host trying to suggest that the killer in Milwaukee, what he was saying is, hey, we had 2 shootings just the other day in Homewood. We had a shooting. They've been shooting up in McKeesport. We don't go looking into their history, trying to find...
Why? Because maybe they weren't targeted for their ethnicity.
Exactly right. And maybe the kind that, he was suggesting that all violence is the same. No, it's not. What's going on in our cities where young people are killing other young people is apples and oranges. The only thing that is similar is the ready availability of guns.
Right. The fact that they can do it so easily.
Exactly.
No, it's a totally different thing. With young people blowing each other away, it's just as much a fact that an immature male brain and a gun are a bad combination.
Real bad combo.
And it's simply a biologic fact. It's not their fault any more than it's the gun's fault. It's a stupid society that enables it. And, but angry white men, that's a whole other issue.
And, and do you recall, now I'm going to have trouble remembering this, but I'm at the beginning of Obama's presidency, it seems it would have been Department of Homeland Security, put out a report. Am I remembering this right? Put out a report suggesting that there should be heightened awareness on the part of law enforcement to homegrown terror and right-wing groups, and also the recruitment of mustered out military from Afghan and Iraq wars to these groups. That this is a red flag, and let's keep an eye out. Do you remember all hell broke loose?
Right.
And the angry white guys who make their living doing radio talk shows accused Obama and his administration of suggesting that right-wingers were terrorists, and saying that, he's saying we're more dangerous than Al-Qaeda, and how dare he cast aspersions on our fine men in uniform and blah, blah, blah. When in fact, they were basing this on fact, on quantitative stuff of the growth of these right-wing groups, especially since Obama's election.
Didn't you think it was interesting that the Southern Christian
Leadership Council
was following this guy? I mean, he was on their radar.
No, the anyway. Southern Poverty Law Center. Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah, Poverty Law Center.
They were aware of him. They have, look, if you want to know where the next one of these guys is coming from, the name is not surprisingly will be on a list that the Southern Poverty Law Center has.
Right.
I think what's the only thing I'm a little surprised at is he's never known to have ranted about Sikhs.
No.
I'm surprised he didn't shoot up a synagogue.
Right.
Because he had been known to rant about Jews.
Right. But first of all, don't we just have to assume that he didn't know?
Sikh from Muslim.
Yes.
Yeah. Because another thing about these guys is they're real smart. I was saying somewhat sarcastically yesterday, well, now, this is how Americans learn about other people. Now we're all going to get a little
lesson that
tutorial.
Everyone who wears a turban is not a Muslim.
Yes, and now we're going to find out about Sikhs. And sure enough, on the network news last night, there was a little, it's a, religion 500 years old, there are this many here and that many there, and blah, blah, blah. And this is how Americans learn. We learn after one of our own slaughters. So there is, I don't know. I don't know what to say either.
I don't either. It just, it's the frequency and the just, resignation that we all meet this with, because we just assume that there's absolutely nothing we can do about it because the yahoos are in control.
Well, I saw, and I don't know where I read it, but I read something. Oh, I know where I read it. Some guy named Charlie Pierce wrote on his blog, I keep hearing, and I know it's true, he said, that a lot, and probably the majority of Americans who really care about the Second Amendment and who think it is a very important, this right, and who themselves may have a gun, or go hunting, that they are not behind the
assault weapon thing.
What the NRA
and unlimited ammo
is up to. And the NRA is insane, with their leadership, what they've done, right?
Right.
And he says, okay, so, like we said, is that true? He said, it's my sense, because, so many Americans belong to the NRA. My sense, he said, is that if NRA members really, if you pay dues to that organization and you are appalled that they regularly stand against the you can't imagine. They're against things that have nothing to do with guns, by the way, now. Because if they see any...
It's a slippery slope kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah. So he said, until those, let's call them, the moderate gun owners of America, the moderate Second Amendment devotees, unless they start making their voices heard, unless they take back the NRA, unless they wrest control, then we, the rest of us who don't belong, are going to have to start making assumptions about them. Just like, where are the moderate Muslims, we asked. Why don't we hear from them? Or are we to believe that all of them are murderous and want to kill us? Well, how are we to know if the moderates don't make a peep? And then we've got the political, our entire political establishment, from the president on down, living in terror of these people, right? I don't know what we're to do. I don't know. But if you belong to the NRA... Now, I seem to remember George H.W. Bush actually sending in his membership, turning it back, when the NRA refused... managed to prevent... I think it was some kind of an assault weapon or the armor-piercing bullets that we wanted to outlaw. And George H.W. Bush said, I don't want to be a member of this organization anymore. Goodbye. And that was other than that, I can't recall anybody standing up and saying, that's it, guys, I'm out of here.
Right, but, George H. Bush wouldn't be a Republican these days.
Well, he wouldn't be a Republican candidate for president. He's still a Republican.
No, but you know what I mean.
I do. Hey, well, okay. If anybody wants to opine about this with us, feel free to call, as did our 5'9" Frida Kahlo-loving.
Boy, she needs to go back. That's all I'd say. If MoMA did that to her, she hadn't even gotten to the Whitney or the Metropolitan or any of the galleries.
Well, you don't know where else she got.
Right.
We only know she got to Queens and MoMA. That's all we know. That's all we know. And New York, you could just dedicate one block to a weekend visit and still not do everything on one block. It's something. It really is.
Our designer friend Corolla has a show. She's a trade show in New York in a couple of weeks. And she's going there for her first time, and wrote me to ask me what to do. And I was going, well, what can I do?
You mean she wants to know what she should do in her spare time?
Well, yeah, where she should go, what she shouldn't miss. I end up telling her to go to any hole-in-the-wall breakfast place. They're better than any place else, and the ruder the waitstaff, the better the food. A hot dog on any sidewalk, a walk in Central Park, and then pick one or two good restaurants and window shop. Not on Fifth Avenue.
No. Well, this is the woman I met in
yes.
in Amsterdam.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make clear. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back. And the phone number, 412-316-3381, and the email would be lynn@pghcitypaper.com.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Laser Hair and Skin Center has been providing professional, affordable services for over 10 years. Now they're proud to exclusively offer RegenLite acne treatment. RegenLite is an FDA-approved, non-invasive drug, chemical, and pain-free treatment of all grades of acne. With RegenLite, you will experience a 50% improvement in less than 2 weeks, with lasting improvement for up to 12 weeks. Call the Laser Hair and Skin Center today at 412-373-1700 and receive $100 off your first session. Or go to mylaserhair.com for more information and to see their full line of services. The Laser Hair and Skin Center.
Hey, Billy, want to go to the state fair?
Yeah!
Well, you can't.
Huh?
Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it. But now your parents are becoming energy efficient. They could save hundreds of dollars a year and take you to the fair next year.
I want to go now.
I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Go to BergBargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get half off monthly memberships to Club One Fitness. BergBargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. BergBargains.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okie doke. We are back. I'm looking for something. The New York Times science section comes out on Tuesdays, which is why Susan and I sometimes end up doing some scientific talk. And I had thought they'd have something in about the Mars thing, but they did not. That's in the regular news pages.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was sort of sparse today myself.
Yeah, but to the Mars thing, the Washington Post had just, I think, a really good graphic explaining this landing of this vehicle, Curiosity. And you know what? It is mind-blowing what these people pulled off.
Right.
And just the it's like whoever, the brains that go in to, first of all, a concept, like here's what we could do. We could blah, 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 and then there could be a parachute, but up to then, and then we'd have to let it go, and then there'd have to be a crane-like operation that would then blah, 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 and then it would, how do people even, yike? I mean, what? Can I just tell you what this, how it came into Mars' atmosphere and landed?
It was a real Rube Goldberg-y thing.
Well, about 78 miles above the surface. And they were never able to test this, really.
No.
Because there was no way to do it. I mean, this is the
right.
first time was the test.
I mean, they could have done other things like just big cushions, but then that wouldn't tell them anything about you can't land a man that way. So they wanted to do something that could support a manned system in the future.
Okay, well, you could land a man like this. It was so gentle. About 78 miles above the surface, the module begins to slow down. At 10 miles, it has slowed down significantly. It's only now going 1,000 miles per hour. 10 miles above the Martian landing. And that's where its parachute opens. At 10 miles up, the parachute opens, and at 3 miles later, the heat shield separates, and that allows the landing radar device to scan the ground. So it's now 7 miles up, but the heat shield has fallen away, and that then allows the radar to be looking at the ground as it approaches. 1 mile above the surface, the entire back shell of the thing we're talking about, the module, detaches. And
because that's a heat shield that it doesn't need anymore.
No, that's not. No, the heat shield's already gone. It detaches, and when it detaches, Susan, that's what the parachute is attached to.
Ah.
So the parachute's gone. 1 mile above the surface, it no longer has a parachute slowing its descent. But now what it has is what they call its sky crane. And that is a thing that now is sort of sitting on top of it. Once the back shell, which the parachute was attached to, lifts off and is gone, you get the next layer, and that's this sky crane. And the sky crane fires up its engines. It has engines. So all of a sudden, it fires up, and 60 feet above the ground, at a speed of, it has slowed this whole descent to 2 miles per hour. So it must be pulling back. I mean, I don't know. So the crane has, slowed it and pulled it back. It's now just 2 miles an hour and 60 feet above the ground, and the sky crane starts to lower the rover on tethers.
I know. It's incredible.
And then at 25 feet, the sky crane slows further, and the wheels of Curiosity touch the ground. And then the sky crane cuts its tethers and flies away to crash land someplace, having done its job. And there is this huge vehicle, 6 feet tall, and it's like a big SUV, and it's sitting there having been literally gently put down. Mind-blowing.
Really?
And
really?
let us I don't even mention the fact that this is a pinpoint landing in a specific place. And as soon as it's put down, bang, fires up, starts doing its thing, bzz, 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 and, taking pictures, sending them back, blah, 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 collecting samples, analyzing samples. It can take a laser out and smash a rock to get inside it, pull it up, da-da-da. Unbelievable.
Well, and let me tell you, what's unbelievable is not so much that they have the science and the knowledge of physics and everything else to figure out how to do this. What's amazing is that there was not a small little error.
Obviously not. There was not even a glitch.
Somebody added wrong. Because believe me, they've done it. They've smashed, multi-million-dollar spacecrafts because somebody did something in feet instead of meters. So that stuff happens. The miracle, and that's why this was 7 minutes of terror, not that they didn't think it wouldn't work, but because, to quote Rumsfeld, they didn't know what they didn't know.
Yeah.
So they got it. They did get all these systems in there, to try and catch those kinds of errors, but they're hard to catch.
Well, let's just put it this way. There's not any other nation that has pulled anything like this off.
And of course, we're defunding this program.
Well, we're defunding it because they want the private sector to do this stuff. And, maybe that is the way to go. I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
I don't know.
I mean, the people at SpaceX sure want to try.
So, pretty amazing. Pretty danged amazing. And I don't pretend to understand what the hell's going on. So, in the science section, there was one interesting thing to me, and that is the sense we have that in times of horror and danger at sea, that the law of the sea says, and we all know this, we've known it since we were children, women and children first, right? If anyone is to be saved, if a ship is going down, it's women and children first. And the men courageously, and the captain and the crew, go down with the ship. We know this, right? Well, it turns out it's totally not true.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well,
of course, because the human instinct is to do whatever it can to survive. when the guy goes into the movie theater, there are a few guys that throw themselves over their companions. There's a few women that throw themselves over their companions. But a bunch of people stampede over each other to get out.
That's right, and that's the general reaction.
That's a more accurate view
of save yourself. It's every man for himself is the reality.
And it's not right. It's not wrong. It's
just
human. Really.
Yeah, no, I agree.
What's extraordinary is acting the other way.
That is correct. That is absolutely right. So that is heroic when we go against our nature. Because
when we fight our basic instincts
to survive.
To help somebody else.
Right. So the reason we're all confused about this kind of thing is because, of course, we will blame it on the Titanic. Because the Titanic, in fact, went against human nature and against reality, the true reality, and it's one of the reasons too that the Titanic, as a symbol of so many things, has endured.
Right, but yeah, I mean, he gave an order and he had a gun to enforce it.
That is true. In that regard, the captain of the Titanic ordered this, and consequently, 80% of the men on board the Titanic perished, and only 30% of the women. So the majority of women were saved, and children, and the majority of men went down with the ship. You do not see those numbers in almost any other shipwreck of any kind, because the research has now been done by some Swedish academics examining shipwrecks and accidents from 1852 until the present, and the Titanic is a total anomaly. The real numbers are women are much more likely to die than men. And the most vulnerable of all passengers aboard a sinking ship are the children.
Right. And, I mean, I really think a lot of that has to do with when these shipwrecks were occurring, what the women were wearing, whether they were in a position to know how to swim versus men that,
Maybe.
Lots of that stuff.
Maybe. Women generally do about half as well as men. So that if you look at all the shipwrecks, what you find is that about a third of men, 35% of the men survive, while only 17% of the women survive. And crew members, it says here, crew members of ships in trouble are seen to be quite helpful to themselves. And so compared with passengers, crew members survive, are 18 or 19% more likely to survive. Children are the worst. They've got only a 15% survival rate, worse than women, worse than... So the way it goes is crew members survive, have the greatest chance of surviving, men next, women third, and, kids. So the fact that this, sea captain, in Italy, the one that's, that cruise ship that went down.
Right. The one on the cruise ship that he ran aground.
Yeah, I do not believe. Did any crew members die on that? I don't think so. Only passengers. Yes. And it says here that it appears that when men do allow women to go to the lifeboats first, it is invariably less an act of chivalry than a response to a command from a person in authority with a gun.
Right.
And it had also been thought that maybe what had happened on the Titanic was specifically British, that the British at the time were, very chivalrous. It was a very gentlemanly kind of, rule-oriented culture. But they say that does not appear to be the case. And in fact, The study suggests that there is not a particular British tradition of women and children first. Actually, women are less likely to survive on British ships apart from the Titanic, which you have to always throw out because it's an anomaly. So, no, the Titanic, she said, has become a mythic presence.
Listen, anyone that thinks that England has a tradition of protecting its women needs to go back and look at Henry VIII.
Yeah, look at those poor ladies.
Yeah, I mean, really.
So here's the researchers finished with this. It is not men's or women's behavior that is at issue, but human behavior. Survivors may feel bad if we accuse them of acting selfishly, but wanting to take care of oneself, this may be normal behavior, and is in fact normal behavior. So it is the exceptional person who gives their life for another. It's a totally exceptional person who gives their life for a stranger's life. I don't think it's as astonishing if a parent gives their life for their child. But
or a spouse or
whatever. But for
friend.
a stranger, wow, that's a hero. Hello.
Hello, Lynn. This is Michael from Palm Springs.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, I don't want to go on about the Titanic or laying down lives for anyone or anything. I would, not to get you in trouble, but to get myself in trouble. I would like to say that I firmly believe Harry Reid and the fact that Mitt Romney has probably not paid taxes for about 10 years, and I hope that he will sue me for slander.
Oh, I don't think he's going to bother with you.
Well, I don't think so either, and I don't think he's going to bother with Harry Reid because I think that it would prove him wrong.
Well, I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I think in some ways Harry Reid to say someone told me but I won't tell you who, blah, 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 is not right. But,
no, it's McCarthy.
But, this is the kind of crap that the Republicans have been doing. I mean, look what they've done to Obama.
Oh, of course.
He wasn't born here. Where's his birth certificate? He was a this, he was a that. He was he didn't write his own book. Give me the facts for all of the crap that he's had to deal with since day one. So I'm not going to, when you create an environment where you can say anything, when obviously truth doesn't even have to be factored in. If the Republicans were as flipped out about what their own have been doing, I would tell Harry Reid to cease and desist. My guess is...
I need to just clarify one thing. I don't think that it's the truth so much that's getting out there. It is the truth that is getting out there because I think that the Republicans believe what they believe as truth, unsupported by facts. What we need are the facts. I'm tired of truth. I don't think that either side has real truth, but I do want the facts.
Well, okay, but here's what I want to say. I think what Reid has done as a political gambit is brilliant. He's willing to take the hit, but what he's done is the only way. What he's done is throw something out there that's so, for an average American would be so unthinkable and would cost Romney votes. The only way Romney can prove him wrong is to give us the last 10 years of his returns, and he quite clearly doesn't want to do it because there's stuff in there that will hurt him.
Damn him, exactly.
It doesn't mean that he didn't pay any taxes, but it means that he's got shelters.
But it will prove that he lied when he said that he has always paid 13%.
Right. Because, the thing is, it's what the Republicans said about Obama. Well, give us your birth certificate. Show us. Just show us. And even then when he did, it didn't stop him. Then they wouldn't accept the birth certificate. But in this case... all he has to do to shut him up... But if
Romney wants to stop Pelosi and Reid, this is a good way for him to stop Reid.
Right, exactly.
He can say, hey, look, you slandered me, here's the proof, boom, get out of here. You are unqualified to be in legislation. legislative position.
Somebody pointed out, and I haven't followed this well enough to know if it's true, they said that John McCain had seen Romney's.
Yes.
And you don't hear McCain accusing Reid of being a liar. Is that true?
And you will not hear that.
Well, that's another little damning piece of
information,
too.
McCain saw Romney's tax records, and Sarah Palin looked like the good choice.
Oh, that's when he saw him. He was vetting Romney for Veep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So he took one look at those tax records and said, hey, Sarah Palin's a lot better choice than this guy.
Yeah. Well,
we're screwed.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what. Reid is, boy, when he's next up for re-election, these Republicans will throw everything but the kitchen sink at him. And
he used to be the mousiest person. And now he's mouthy. He's gone from mousy to mouthy.
What's funny is that, you know, this is Mormon on Mormon. Reid's a Mormon. Mormon.
Is he? Oh, yes. That's right, he is.
Yeah, it's Mormon on Mormon. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okie doke.
Wow.
Okay, I hadn't said boo about this, but yeah, okay. I think, you know, fine. When it comes to dirty pool, I don't think Democrats can hold a candle to these Republicans, so I'm not going to jump on
are the
Reid.
master of dirty tricks.
And
they
I
have
think,
been at least since the Nixon administration, if not before then.
Right. And I think, you know, Reid has allowed everybody else in the Democrats to say, well, I don't know. So if it's slander what he's saying, I mean, you sue him and prove he's slandering. Show us the returns.
Right, exactly.
It's brilliant. It's actually brilliant.
I think it is, too. I think it's a great little strategic chess move that kind of upset the balance of order and the way things are normally done. It just created a new little chink in the armor.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well,
thanks,
thank
Michael.
you very much for being. And, hey, Susan, have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye. Okay, and I think I'm going to take a break. Have a great break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blogs, Lynn Cullen, City Guide, CPTV, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com. Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
I have not mentioned, but we all do know that the jury in the Jordan Miles case continues its deliberations today, and thus far we have not had a verdict. Susan, this is a big local case of cops beating up a kid, and I don't know. We're expecting a hung jury because you just can't seem to convict a cop in this country of doing anything. We'll see, but still no. There's nothing happening.
Actually, we do here.
You do? Well, really? Now that shocks me.
We actually, it was like 4 cops that were finally convicted of shaking down tons of people over a bunch of years, and it resulted in the release of a huge number of people who were convicted on the strength of these guys' evidence.
Okay, well, I think maybe that's a little different. So that kind of corruption might be different. What I'm talking about is when
violence.
Yeah. Police violence. And you can't ever seem to get a jury to go with the victim. Emails just catching up here. Dave says the NRA called federal agents jackbooted thugs. That's right. And that's when Bush quit the NRA. Okay. when he was president, and when he was enraged at that. Hang on. Give you a little more. PJ writes, gun control isn't the answer. It goes way deeper. It's a mindset of paranoid, ignorant, and arrogant white males. They see the world through these eyes, and simply changing gun laws won't solve the much larger national psychological problem. They feel as if they have a birthright that's being compromised, no matter how false this may be, and they don't know how to handle failure. And they have an archaic view that they are owed respect because of who they think they are. They need to be dragged into the 21st century kicking and screaming, and the fact that the NRA is a business is a whole other can of worms. Well, that's true, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that, but like this guy in Milwaukee really subscribed to the theory that white males were, the most endangered species, and that there was no turning it around. This is what women's lib has gotten us. These huge social changes between women being liberated, blacks being liberated.
People of any color.
People of any color,
I mean,
race,
the Chinese
gender,
were good to build the railroad, but they didn't want them around for much else.
And then gender stuff.
Yeah.
And now these gays kissing each other in public and stuff and letting them marry. I mean, if you're an old, if you used to be on top of the world and separate from all these lesser beings, this has happened to you in my lifetime. And a lot of these guys can't get their heads around it. And I think it'll take a few generations, if at all possible, to get our heads around it in general. I don't know. Anyway, in regard to all the money that went into landing this little critter on the surface of Mars, PJ also writes, what would Vanessa German, this is this marvelous artist and activist here, Susan, that I've talked to you about. He says, what would Vanessa German do with the $2.5 billion spent landing this Mini Cooper on it's bigger than a Mini Cooper. This Mini Cooper on Mars. I don't buy the myth that the Mars rover helps further the cause of humanity. Yes, it's interesting, fascinating, and I understand the thinking, but we need to get our shit together here. I'll be impressed when we apply that type of innovative thinking to this planet first.
Well, I mean,
good point.
Why can't
we do both?
Yeah, why? I mean,
well, because we can never find the money to do.
Right, we can't. It's hard, I know, but I don't agree that the answer is to stop exploring new things in order to fix the stuff we have. I think we have to accept responsibility for all of it and continue to grow. That's how humans, supposedly, get to say that they're superior. Until we do that, we aren't.
Well, this in from Margaret. Men on a sinking boat think, hey, I could use that child for a flotation device.
Listen, our father tried to grab down to each of us more than once, I'm sure, as he inadvertently sank into the deep end.
Well,
I got pushed to the bottom more times as a little girl by a 6'2" man.
It isn't easy for an old man to learn how to swim.
No, but I learned as a little girl how to push him to the side real quick.
Save yourself! Save
yourself so I won't drown.
Well, I remember my funniest memory is when he was flailing around in the pool, thinking he was drowning, and
we told him to stand
up. Right. Put your feet down.
But then he'd always come up laughing.
It's hard to learn how to do that when you're...
Well, but he did.
Yeah, he did.
By the time I was a teenager, he did that thing that he called swimming.
Whatever that was. But he did it back and forth and back and forth. I just have to tell people that for some reason my oh, there it is. Okay. I was having trouble getting my emails. Okay, I got them now. Well, this is good news, Susan. In the last, since March, there's been a huge increase in the number of Americans who believe their climate is changing since March. It's big. I mean, even a majority of Republicans now.
Well, you know, when the apple trees bloom in February, they get a hint.
Oh, yeah. They sort of started kind of do. But if you look at Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, it's still amazing. The Republicans are the lowest percent. Only 53% of them believe something's up. 72% of Independents think something's happening here. And 87% of Democrats.
Well, that's because, you know, pretty soon we won't have to give anybody an IQ test anymore.
That's
we'll
right.
Just say, party affiliation.
Right, what's your party affiliation? That's exactly what I was thinking. Excuse me, may I see your... Okay, so you're a Republican, you belong to the...
Okay, you go into that class.
Yeah, you belong to the NRA, and you're a Republican and a whatever. I'm trying to think of some of the other markers. Goodbye. But what they're saying is, you know, how heat... as a natural disaster is hard to visualize. You know, when a hurricane hits, you see the devastation. A tornado, you see it. A flood, a fire, you see it. With heat, it's hard to see it. And they're saying, you know where you're going to start seeing it? And we got a little heads up in Chicago in 1995, and maybe you'll recall this. They had a heat wave in Chicago in 95, triple digits for days. And, you know, things looked the same, but things weren't the same. And it turned out that most of the emergency rooms in the city ended up turning people away. They were overwhelmed. The morgue couldn't keep up. They had to bring in refrigerated trucks to start piling the deceased into. Trains were derailing. The power grid was failing. Water supplies were low. All of this happened in Chicago. And by the time it was over, that heat wave, do you know how many people in Chicago were dead as a result of that natural disaster? 739.
I think we're doing better here. I know there's been several, but I think we're well below, I think, even 30.
Yeah, well, what they're saying, people have gotten smarter since that. Chicago has gotten smarter. But the reality is these big cities, these heat islands, like New York we were talking about, that cannot cool down at night, where in a more rural setting there's some cool down, where the heat gets trapped and people have no ability to cool themselves. They're saying that because we're going to see more and more of this, the Union of Concerned Scientists has released a report called Heat in the Heartland. And it says that the incidence of deadly and dangerous hot weather in the Midwest in the past 60 years is, the line is just going up, up, up. They expect it to continue, maybe to even increase. And they're saying that along with Chicago, the report singles out these cities: St. Louis, Detroit, Minneapolis, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, and of course.
Well,
it's really something.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, you walk outside when it's 108, and you understand very quickly how quickly one could die in it.
Yep. Well, my air conditioning went out last night, and I completely agree. I hope it's fixed by the time I get home. But we had, what great timing, because we had the coolest day in ages yesterday. So I was able to open my windows last night and actually slept really well. If it was during the real heat, I think I would have just died.
Well, you could always go to a hotel.
Yeah. So
I mean, we had, not to talk about the weather, but it actually rained on Saturday, and you could just feel the whole everybody just giving this collective sigh of relief.
Yeah. Anyway, the percentage of the Earth's land surface covered by extreme heat has soared in the last 2 decades from less than 1% before 1980. Listen, this is like,
catastrophic. Yeah.
Less than 1% of the world's surface was categorized as having extreme heat. Now, that percentage in 25 years, 13%. But there's no global warming, and don't even tell me there is. Anyway, so they're saying you look at these statistics, and this is too large changes to be considered natural. Consequently, man has a hand in this because man, as you know, does nothing but fuck things up. Pardon my French. Okay, Susan.
And that cheery note.
Well, I didn't say women.
See you soon.
Yeah. Okay, Suze. Yeah, right. Safe travels tomorrow.
Oh, you too. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. We're gearing up for our mom's 90th birthday party this weekend. And consequently, I should tell you, heads up, I won't be here on Friday. Okay? Tomorrow, no Chris Potter. Just me. Sorry. I know it's a big disappointment, but that's the facts. Enjoy this day, and hope we can talk tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.